Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing every single industry that we can imagine. Currently, we are using AI to make critical determinations in multiple different sectors, in transportation, in criminal justice, and in healthcare. And the success of artificial intelligence in the past decade has been dependent upon large-scale labeled data sets. In fact, analysts at McKinsey have noted that labeled data is currently one of the biggest bottlenecks that is preventing us from deploying powerful AI systems to tackle some of humanity's most challenging problems. And one of my co-founders, Ishan Agarwal, was very familiar with the data labeling problem when he was working on an integrity team at Facebook. This team was responsible for constructing an AI system that could filter hate speech and hateful rhetoric from the platform. And although the team had access to over 1 billion data points, only 50,000 of these data points were labeled. And it was this small portion of labeled data that could be leveraged to construct an AI system that could understand and filter out hate speech from the platform. And this solution is clearly incomplete. When the training data for AI is insufficient, the consequences can be disastrous. We've all seen in the past few months cases where autonomous vehicles have gotten into accidents simply because they were unable to recognize and detect pedestrians. So the data labeling problem clearly has life or death consequences, which is why so many of us are trying to find a solution to this problem, and the market for data labeling is growing rapidly. In 2018, the market size for data labeling was about $150 million, and this is expected to grow to over $1 billion by 2023. That's a year-over-year growth rate of about 40%. And at Access AI, we are going to capture this market by making data labeling accessible. We are the first platform that has no literacy requirements. Our data labelers can use our platform whenever and wherever they feel comfortable, and we have broken down data labeling tasks into a series of simple micro-tasks. We aim to revolutionize the data labeling industry just as Uber or Lyft revolutionized the taxi industry. Our current competition builds out costly infrastructure where it houses full-time data labeling employees, which are considered to be skilled labor requiring a requisite level of education. And this yields an inelastic supply of data labelers, and all of this cost is fronted by the customer. At Access AI, we have on-demand workers, little to no infrastructure investments, and a dramatically more elastic supply of data labelers. So we are able to provide quality labels at a fraction of the cost. Our data labelers love our platform. This is Chandu, and he is one of the data labelers in our community. And Chandu was able to supplement his monthly salary by almost 50% doing what he describes as playing games. So this is just one instance of the tangible impact that Access AI is making on our data labeling community. While our labelers love Access AI, our customers need us. We are currently in conversations with 2 Fortune 50 companies, and we are running pilot tests at research labs at Stanford and multiple startups. And our customers choose Access AI because we have an edge. My founding team has intimate connections in the United States and India, so we have the cultural competence required to understand both sides of the market. While other data labeling platforms require desktop infrastructure, we leverage mobile technology and leverage Indian mobile penetration to be able to provide labeling services at a much lower cost. My co-founders and I have expertise in human-computer interaction, design, and computational learning theory. And together, we have the right skill set to be able to deliver a product that is seamless with respect to the user experience and also the customer experience. We need the Brown Venture Prize because currently, Access AI has the capacity to outscale and outcompete any other data labeling service in the market. Our only limitation is capital. We need capital in order to grow our data labeling community and to be able to hire a developer so we can service multiple different customers from all of the industries that are demanding our services. So judges, please help us with the Brown Venture Prize so Access AI can capture the data labeling market and so the world can leverage artificial intelligence technology to be able to tackle some of our most challenging problems. Thank you.
Nice job. Will the mics, other mics pick me up? Nice job. All right. So one question that our judges had was about if there are any downsides to using this sort of flexible, non-full-time labeling labor on sort of that side of the market. In particular, questions about quality control. I mean, are there things that you lose by moving to that kind of labor market as opposed to kind of dedicated full-timers? And the second one was about privacy and what do we do if you have customers whose data is sensitive?
Perfect. So if you look at some of our competitors like Scale AI, when they take on a given job from the customer is actually required to send them all of the data necessary for the tasks, and that data is hosted locally on Scale AI servers. And then full-time laborers are mostly used, yes, for the sake of security, but at Access AI, we leverage something that's called probabilistic security. So when a data labeler is working on any given task, they have access to one and only one image at a given time, and our application can actually connect directly with our customers' data stores. So their data is as secure as whatever security protocols they have in place, and we also have the optionality of customers to be able to store their data in Amazon Web Services S3 buckets. So they are able to leverage this industrial standard in cloud-based security created by Amazon. In regards to quality control, if we actually look at one of the data labelers I mentioned, Chandu. So Chandu is actually, he is not literate, and he was able to pick up a image classification task within 15 minutes using pictorial instructions. And currently, he is actually able to work on the ImageNet challenge, which is the gold standard in computer vision, and he's providing 99.5% accuracy on that task. So his performance is actually exceeding full-time professional data labelers in the United States.
Nice job. Very quick question. What's the pricing model for this from your company's perspective, not the labeler's perspective?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the pricing model is dependent upon a number of factors. So in particular, for each labeler in our community, we have an understanding of their competence and performance for any given task based upon their historical performance. So when a customer comes to us with a given task, they normally list both the time period they need their data labeling task to be completed by, in addition to the quality standard that they required. So dependent upon those factors, we are able to create a customized price model on a customer-to-customer basis.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I'm one of the co-founders of Anchor. At Anchor, we know the power of community and the importance of building authentic relationships. Let's pretend that BVP wasn't virtual today, and it was actually we were all together in person. So we would, after the pitch competition, we'd have a little cocktail hour, we'd all meet each other, and we'd meet some really cool people. And after the event, we'd go home, we'd connect on LinkedIn, maybe send an email if we had gotten contact info, but then what? How would we remember to keep in touch with these people? With the rise of social media, it's become easier than ever to grow our network exponentially. But with this has not come a tool to help us manage all of our new connections. And people are actively searching for a tool like this. Twitter and Reddit have made that really clear, and so has our user research. We've conducted over 100 customer interviews with young professionals, and we've uncovered a widespread need. People want a better way to manage and strengthen their relationships. So what people do now is they'll try to hack together their own solutions, and they'll write down lists of everyone they know. So that can be on spreadsheets, or it can be on notes scattered across devices, or they might rely on Gmail nudges or LinkedIn searches. But this ultimately proves inefficient and ineffective. So what would it look like if there was a dedicated solution to this problem of relationship management? Well, first of all, it would look like more time. Millennials are busy. Whether it's work or school or side hustle, how many of us wouldn't appreciate having more time on our hands? A dedicated solution gives the gift of time by taking away the busy work of having to keep everyone top of mind. Second, opportunity. The more time we spend with other people, the more opportunities reveal themselves. And in fact, according to LinkedIn, 85% of people find jobs through their network. And lastly, human interaction. Human interaction is critical to happiness. And research indicates that nearly 50% of Americans feel that their relationships are not meaningful. And this is especially true for people under the age of 30. So this is where Anchor comes in. Let's rewind to that scenario from before. After the BVP event, I would download Anchor. I'd connect my contact sources like Google Contacts or the contacts on my phone, and I would also connect my calendar. And since I've connected my calendar, Anchor would know to send me a notification saying, hey, connect with the people who you met at BVP tonight. So I would connect with people on LinkedIn, and then they would show up as contact cards in my Anchor account. And I could add tags to them like BVP or entrepreneur. But Anchor isn't just a fancy contacts app. Anchor is intelligent. So the next time I'm about to meet with this person, Anchor can resurface relevant information about them. And after our meeting, it can suggest that I follow up with an email template. So with an app like this, our users will be able to deepen their relationships with the people who they know. We're going after the large market of young college-educated professionals initially, and we'll expand to enterprise in the future. But to capture that initial value, we're operating with a freemium model, charging premium users $9 per month. Since this market is so big, we're not the first people to go after it. But if anything, that tells us that the time is now. And what we understand that our competitors don't is that millennials these days don't want to classify their contacts into either just personal or just professional. So our app isn't one or the other. We let users decide how they want to use it. Our go-to-market strategy includes campus ambassadors, partnerships with VC firms and accelerators, as well as a referral program. We've assembled an incredible team of designers and engineers from Brown and RISD. Collectively, we've worked at Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and HubSpot. We have also assembled an amazing team of advisors to complement our skill sets with relevant industry experience. We're well on our way to capturing our initial users. We're currently running a closed beta and plan to open it up to the public this summer. Today, we're raising $100,000 to accelerate our growth. This will be primarily used on development and customer acquisition. Thank you for considering us for the Brown Venture Prize. Let's use Anchor to stay in touch with each other and to continue building strong communities on College Hill and beyond.
Great job. So I think our judges were almost unanimous in their recognition that this is still a problem. I mean, sort of contact management and relationship management. The primary questions were around what makes this different than a bunch of the other things, and I think you spoke to a bunch of that. I guess what I would say is if you had to put your finger on sort of one or two primary differences between Anchor and the competition, what would you say that would be?
I'd say one of the big ones is that we are highly integrated into your workflow. So you don't even have to necessarily open the app for many of the things you want to do. So for example, after you meet up with someone, we know from your calendar that you just had a meeting or just had a phone call, and we can send you a text that says, how was your meeting? Do you have any notes? And you can just text us right back, and that is sucked into that person's contact card on the Anchor app. So you don't even have to open the app to do that entire transaction. The same exact thing can happen on email. You can text Anchor anytime saying, remind me to follow up with Jonas in 2 months. So it's almost transitioning, or it has the functionality to be a chatbot in that way. And so I think that provides a big differentiator when it comes to the other personal CRM solutions that are out there.
What about the old folks?
What about them?
Is it, I mean, you're focused on a obvious demographic. I wonder, for people like myself who perhaps not as savvy and maybe don't have as many, what would you call it, channels to monitor, is this going to look like just another thing I have to keep track of? So that's what I'm wondering about. Is it really just for a particular age demographic?
So not at all. I think it's completely versatile for any age group. I can think of a lot of people older than just young professionals who could very much benefit from this. If anything, older people have bigger networks and need this potentially more because their network is already so big and they want to keep in touch with people that they went to business school with 30 years ago. But we're just targeting that market initially because they are tech savvy, the most tech savvy, and will understand how to use it faster, potentially. But in terms of utility, I think the utility across the different groups is completely equal.
In Rhode Island School of Design and Brown University, the flow of creative opportunities is unparalleled. We are constantly challenged to collaborate with each other, to exceed our own creative limits. We learn how collaboration and sharing ideas can foster innovation and drive creativity. Unfortunately, this collaborative culture does not expand beyond our universities. The creative industry is not made for designers to collaborate. Instead, we build our profiles and portfolios to become a candidate that stands out in a highly competitive market. This leads to a larger societal problem, including high unemployment rates for artists and designers. So our venture started by asking, what if we could bend the system? Bend is a two-sided market that preserves the collaborative and creative spirits of designers. It provides designers opportunities to work together in projects that require more than one expertise. It also allows designers to easily access art and design competitions, as well as a wide variety of financial opportunities. For clients, Bend ensures quick access to cheaper and better quality design solutions. Currently, companies pay up to $100 an hour to hire a freelance designer. Bend helps them save up to 80% of this cost by letting them upload short-term and need-based project entries that are not bound to an hourly employment contract. And designers' collaboration guarantees a better quality design solution. So you might wonder how all of this could work in a single platform. Here is a proper introduction to Bend. So we know that this structure already works. Each year, in the Interior Architecture Department at RISD, we participate in a 5-day design competition in which a prospective client introduces a design problem and students are split up into teams to propose a solution. This is a win-win strategy for both designers and clients, as students learn different ways to approach design and a client gets to see a wide variety of strong proposals that go beyond the narrow scope of a single designer. Bend brings a structure proven to be successful offline into a digital design community.
There are employment solutions out there, but here's how ours is different. Bend creates unique structure in the design industry that offers a new work dynamic between designers. In Bend, designers are not just competing against each other, but have the ability to work together on projects that require more than one expertise. The clients benefit from this structure, as a team of designers would always provide a more resolved solution compared to a single designer. BEN starts from targeting design students. In the United States alone, there are over 300 design schools, each with more than 2,000 students in various disciplines. Our marketing strategy includes attending international design events and collaborating with artist residencies and foundation programs around the world to expand our scope at a global scale, giving us more than 75,000 potential users. BEN is made to support designers, and therefore designers do not have to pay to register. Instead, we ask business clients to pay $50 to access all the submitted proposals and take only 5% of the money they pay once they select a winning project. As the payment of $50 is optional for clients to access the proposals, we give them freedom to make their decisions based on the number of entries they receive. This allows us to develop a sustainable business model, as we're looking forward to having 700 active clients at a time, giving us $50 million of revenue in total by the year of 2022, which will be reinvested to further grow our design community. However, for us to start this exciting journey, we need your support from the Brown Venture Prize. $25,000 will provide BEN with enough initial budget to develop our application, get our business licensed, and to launch our venture online. My name is Uni, and this is Andrea, and we both are seniors at Rhode Island School of Design and Brown University. As design students ourselves who are already part of this creative industry, we understand the needs and challenges of designers from our own experiences, which makes us the best candidates to start this venture. Join us, and together we can bend the system.
Nice work, team. Okay, so the judges' questions about this was actually similar to what I asked the last team. You're not the first folks to take a run at this challenge. The judges were sort of intrigued by the idea about using kind of collaboration to as sort of a new approach to this sort of thing. So 2 parts. One, kind of help the judges understand that. And one of them in particular asked, I thought, a very good question. What distinguishes this, if collaboration is really what it's all about, what distinguishes this from, say, an agency, which might have multiple types of designers already there in-house? Mm-hmm. How would you sort of contrast that?
I think the way we mean by collaboration is not just designers working together as a team who are already part of the industry, but we're targeting design students and amateur designers who aren't part of the system necessarily and who aren't established already. And by targeting those group of people, we're trying to get the collaboration going between even fine artists and designers who just have an idea that's creative, but haven't gotten the opportunity to start something together. And by having a platform that offers employment opportunities and financial returns, we're kind of targeting those populations who are not already part of the system.
Another difference than agencies is that we work competition-based, so a lot of teams would be submitting a proposal to one same competition entry, and out of all of those short-term project competitions, we would, the client picks the winning team. So that's the way, like it's more short-term than an agency would typically work with.
Nice job. One of the big challenges with all two-sided marketplaces like yours is, I'll call it sort of balancing the market, that there's a chicken and egg problem. Mm-hmm. How do you have customers if you don't have, in your case, designers? And it looks like you're real close to being able to launch this thing. I'm curious, what steps do you think you need to take to make sure that the market is balanced so no one's frustrated on either side?
One thing we're targeting right now in terms of app development is having legality into it so that designers are not exploited or to ensure that they have the copyrights. So we're trying to have a database that stores all the information about the date and time so that we can ensure that designers' ideas are protected safe and there's no exploitation that might happen in the current design industry.
And the way we're targeting sort of like the frustration from the clients or the artists is that we are letting the client decide if they want to pay to unlock the proposals. So in case designers do not submit enough proposals, they can decide to not pay anything to unlock the proposal. So when they submit a competition entry, they do not have to pay anything until they start receiving proposals. So once a client receives, let's say, 50 proposals and thinks it's like feasible to pay the amount of money to unlock them, then they can make that decision. Thank you.
Growing up, my mom was a fashionista. She could do anything she wanted, shop anywhere she wanted. But about 10 years ago, she was diagnosed with a few different autoimmune disorders, which left her disabled. She had a new body and new functionality, so we needed to buy her a whole new wardrobe. And when we went to online shop, especially for bras, this is what we found. Ugly, medicinal underwear. And in my mom's words, she said, "This is dehumanizing." When I got to Brown, I realized this problem is bigger than just my mom, and I met lots of other women with the same disabilities and other disabilities. And in fact, there are 600 million women worldwide that have some sort of chronic pain or physical disability that affects the way they dress. Over the last 2 years at Brown, I've been conducting over 100 interviews with women with disabilities and asking about their relationship with their clothing. My solution? Intimately. An online marketplace that has the most functional and fashionable undergarments for all women. Some of the products that we host include side-opening underwear. Instead of doing this motion to put on your underwear, you can stay seated and you don't have to bend over and just slide it through and clip on either side. This is great for wheelchair users, women with limited mobility and dexterity. We also have period underwear. Many women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s do early onset medicated menopause when they have a disability because changing sanitary napkins can be such a hassle. Our solution is offering sexy, lacy underwear that absorbs period and menstruating freely so there's no hassle involved. And we also have front-opening magnetic bras for women in wheelchairs, women with limited hand mobility, dexterity, and even breast cancer survivors. So getting on and off your bra is easy and not painful. So right now, you've just seen a bunch of products that we aggregate on our marketplace. Over the last 2 years, I've been going on to what seems like the 80th page of Google, finding these small mom and pop brands that make the products. I put them on one website, did the photo shoot that you just saw, and I'm making it a beautiful experience for women like my mom. But this is just phase one. It's just a marketplace. Phase two is creating my own line. I have been working with students at RISD, prototyping, and have a manufacturer in Latvia, and I'm excited about this line that I want to bring to fruition in April 2020, hopefully with the help of VVP. And another revenue stream will be advertising. Medical device companies, pharmaceuticals, physical therapy centers will all penetrate this concentrated market of women with disabilities. I'm also so excited about creating a community. When my mom got diagnosed, she felt excluded. She didn't feel included when she read Cosmo or Vogue or any of those other lifestyle magazines. So I've already created a website on my website curating stories from women all around the world with all different disabilities, where they can finally feel included and talk about sex and love and dating and fashion hacks and beauty. And this will help lower our customer acquisition costs and increase retention rates. This is a huge market. Forbes predicts that by 2025, global adaptive apparel as a whole will be close to $400 billion. So it's no surprise that there are other competitors on the market. Zappos, Target, and Tommy Hilfiger have all launched lines of clothing, not underwear, but clothing for women and men with disabilities. Aerie is our main competitor, as they have started to look into adaptive underwear. But they're only focusing on the bottom halves, and we all know you need a top half and a bottom half when you're shopping for lingerie. Also, Aerie's been around for a while, and they treat these women like afterthoughts. Our value is creating a place where these women can feel included and belong for the first time in their lives, not an afterthought. To date, I've done a successful Kickstarter, raising close to $20,000. I have initial sales and have been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Pop Sugar, Bust, Yahoo News, and a few other publications. I also have my designs all set, the prototype, the manufacturer, the fabrics, the sizing, the quantities, everything's all ready. I just need the capital from VVP to press play. A little bit more about me. I'm a senior at Brown studying visual arts and graphic design and have background in UI, UX, and apparel design. And I have real-world experience in startups. Last summer, I was the only marketing person on a small 5-person team. The rest were full-stack developers. and for a company that went through Y Combinator. And I raised the MRR from $300 to $4,000 and got clients all by myself, such as Kleiner Perkins, First Round, and Front App. So I can translate these skills into my own company that I really care about. I know you'll be hearing a lot of pitches today, but here are 3 main takeaways. This is a huge unmet need. I'm the woman, hopefully with you all, to make this happen, and I just need the BVP to press play. Thank you, and let's work together to make women feel included all around the world. Thank you.
Great pitch. Okay, so I summarizing, judges, loved the fact that you are going after an unmet need for an overlooked population. I think there was a little bit of confusion around you're aggregating products from other places, also designing your own. So maybe kind of unpack that a little bit for the judges and kind of decisions around that, pros and cons. And then the second piece, I'll give you a two-parter, is market size, and particularly market size for the products that you're going after. Because you had like the big adaptive apparel, 400 billion. Yes. Can you go a little bit more specific about how big your market is specifically?
Great. So for the first part is that I had a lot of designs that I've been working on for the last 2 years, specifically around undergarments, but I didn't want to just throw them out and into a void. I wanted to get traction first. And the first way to do that was aggregating these small mom and pop shops that already have pretty good products. There's a lot of changes that could be made to them, but putting them on one cohesive website where women could have a large selection. And then I could introduce more and more products based on based on gaps in the market as I've been doing research. And then to answer your second question, market size. So this is a huge market, but the addressable market, there are 6 million women in the United States that live in a wheelchair, and they are the first customers we need to hit. They absolutely need our underwear and our bras, no questions asked. Then there are a few million other women that have severe different disabilities that might not be in a wheelchair, and that's our next market that we're going to hit. So while the 400 billion, or the one that Forbes numbered, talked about all clothing in general, we're not afraid of going into that market as we go along, and this is just our first step. But also, Aerie in the lingerie market is booming. In 2017, Aerie collected revenues of close to 646 million, and then the next year in 2019, they collected 800 million. So really booming, and so lingerie market's going up, adaptive apparel market's going up, and we're not afraid to move into the adaptive apparel space.
Nice job. To push play for apparel, this is something Jonas wouldn't know very much about, so there's a challenge, a practical challenge of SKU count. Do you know what
Absolutely, yeah.
And so how do we imagine pressing play with, I'm imagining, as you characterize, a wide diversity of challenges, physical challenges, but also sizes, and so how do we manage, when we press play, the SKU count problem?
Perfect. So that's like a quick two-part answer. I know I'm running out of time. But first, I am not doing this alone. As Jonas knows, starting an e-commerce business, especially bras, are so complex with these magnets. So I'm not doing the operational part alone. I've partnered with the small company that makes the bras on my website, and she's doing all of the operational. And then so she's working with the manufacturer and everything, but it's my designs. So I can still focus on this part of intimately while she does all the nitty-gritty SKUs and everything like that. So that was a strategic move in order to not have to deal with that. And then in terms of the diverseness of different disabilities, it's all women have breasts and a similar size around their bust area, so that's not an issue. It's more about creating a universal fastening. And with magnets, it doesn't matter if you don't have hands, if you have limited mobility, limited functionality, or maybe it's not an issue of hands at all. It's because you're sitting against your wheelchair all day and don't want that strap in the back. So even though there's lots of different disabilities and lots of different things that could go wrong in getting dressed, it's all the same pain points, and that can be fixed with our front-opening magnetic bra, and then the way that we do the straps and other small, minute details. I hope that answered your question. Great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evan Jackson.
And I'm Robbie Felton, and we are Intus Care, streamlining care delivery and improving communication within home health and long-term care. Home health includes essential care services for elderly and disabled patients from the comforts of their own homes. Now imagine your grandmother receiving care services for an appointment tomorrow morning and her care provider never shows up. There are millions of patients just like your grandmother, and around 5 to 10% of all appointments are no-shows, meaning that their care provider never arrived to give them the essential care services that they need. Not only are those issues for the patients, there are also issues for their care providers. Around 15% of all appointments are not reimbursed by insurance. This is due to complications with care logs. They're long and difficult. Many of them are misfiled, misreported, or lost. That means care organizations are not being paid for the services that they provide. This also leads to around 20 hours per week being spent on paperwork reconciliation by care managers and supervisors, which is a massive loss of efficiency. This can be quantified as the over $10 billion being lost annually by organizations and payers due to improper Medicare and Medicaid payments. This issue has came to a head with the passing of the Federal Cures Act, which mandates the implementation of electronic visit verification, meaning tracking that care providers entered and left patients' homes, as well as the services that they provided, for personal care services by 2020 and all home health care services by 2023. Our solution is a simple electronic visit verification platform that's accessible to care providers via their mobile phones. It includes care plans, task checklists, and GPS verification, as well as access to relevant patient information so the care providers have the clearest picture of the people they're taking care of. All this information is sent to our care manager portal, which allows for the consolidation and removal of paperwork. It allows for the creation and scheduling of care appointments, the matching of care providers with patients, as well as communication throughout the care continuum. Additionally, we allow for patient risk grouping, so organizations can have access to data-driven interventions in a timely manner. We were careful to not forget one of the most important stakeholders for these patients, which is their families. So we have optimized and integrated our platform to allow for communication between care organizations, their caregivers, and the families. We do this through our family portal, which allows for real-time appointment updates so families can know when care is happening and what care is being provided. We also allow for two-way direct messaging, so families have questions they can ask organizations, and organizations can answer and provide updates, as well as patient health status notifications, so families can be the first person to know when there's a change in their loved one's health.
While initially we're targeting the 8,700 home healthcare organizations that are not compliant with the Federal Cures Act, we've built our software so that it's compatible throughout the long-term care space, and we can target assisted living facilities or nursing homes. So as you can see, this is already a huge market, but this market is only growing. Here's an overview of some of our close competitors. As you can see, we have similar features in the schedule and care tracking that's throughout the industry. However, we differentiate ourselves in our focus on the family portal to increase communication, as well as our patient risk grouping to decrease hospitalizations. So as opposed to this competition that has hidden fees, we've created a very transparent pricing model of $6 per patient per month paid to us directly by these care organizations. In addition, we've partnered with Microsoft, and in that, we are developing a joint go-to-market strategy in which we can co-sell our product alongside a host of Microsoft products. In phase 1, we're targeting home health organizations and PACE programs, and in our phase 2, we're targeting assisted living facilities, nursing homes, and private insurance companies. As far as our progress to date, last November, we were fortunate to be the winners of the Mass Challenge. In that, we were presented with a gold award of $50,000 as the first place winners from the Rhode Island cohort. With this funding, we were able to develop out our care provider and care manager portal, as well as become HIPAA compliant and data encrypted. We've also been able to complete user testing with the program of all-inclusive care, as well as conduct 10 sales pitches since February 1st. And right now, we are currently in the middle of the sales cycle with these organizations, looking to get pen on paper paying customers. With the funding from Brown Venture Prize, we'll be able to finish the development of our family portal, as well as reach 20 additional customers and service over 7,000 patients.
Here's an overview of our founding team. We're made up of 4 Brown University students. We have relevant experience working in health outcome research, as well as healthcare private equity and software engineering. Here's an overview of our advisors, the people who have been with us every step of the way. Some people to note are my mother, who's the executive director of a geriatric healthcare facility. Additionally, Brown alums Larry Kusher and Patty Riskind. Larry is the CEO of A Place for Mom, the nation's leading senior care placement organization, and Patty is the head of global healthcare at Qualtrics. We are working to be on the cutting edge of where healthcare regulation and technology meet, and we ask that you join us in our mission to improve the quality of care for those in need. Thank you.
Open up for questions. Beautiful.
Good job, team. Okay. My colleague Howard Anderson likes to say that all startups have 2 problems, sales and everything else. And our judges, based on their feedback, think the same thing. So they all wanted to know, even though it's early days, how are you thinking about the sales process given the long sales cycle? How are we going to convince folks that there's sort of ROI on their end to implement this? Or walk me through some of your thoughts, or really walk our judges through some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, so one of the big pieces in this sales cycle is the electronic health records, which is something that was a big key for us. All the organizations who we pitched to have loved our product, love what we're doing, have identified the exact same problem that we've identified, but their big concern is actually integrating with the electronic health record so that we can automatically import this patient data that will be uploaded onto our site. So recently, we were fortunate to meet actually the CEO of a company called Datica, who's a Brown alum, and they specialize in EHR integration. So we've been working with him to learn actually how to do it ourselves, but for our first initial customers, he's actually going to be able to help us through that process. And so we're able to go back to our potential customers now and showcase that we are able to integrate with their EHRs.
There was one stakeholder that I didn't see overtly discussed, and that's the care worker himself or herself. Somebody is, I guess, carrying a personal cell phone around, and I'm sure there's. But what I'm most interested in is the dynamic. How do they feel about this thing? The company may be excited about it, but how does the care provider who's actually traveling to the homes, how do they feel about being tracked, having to do all of this rigmarole? Have you spoken to the care providers themselves, and if so, what do they say?
Right. Through our user testing, as well as our prior research, we did focus groups with certified nursing assistants, home health aides, to really find out what their pain points were as well, and also what they thought about our product. And a big value add they saw is that they don't have to carry around paper clipboards anymore. Or they were running around from appointment to appointment, losing care sheets, and if they lose the care sheets, maybe they don't get paid by their organization, and now they have everything accessible to them on their mobile phone, streamlined in an easy-to-use fashion.
And this creates a time-saving proposition for them as well, because if you think about it, to actually get these paper sheets back to the organizations, you have to hand deliver them, and you don't know where you're going to be at the end of the day. You could be completing an appointment an hour away from the organization and have to drive back at the end of the day to make sure that they're there. So through our system, it's completely digital. It's actually a web-based platform, so it requires no download, and they can automatically upload the work that they've done without having to go back to the organization just to deliver the paperwork. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Francesca Raulison, originally from Madagascar and the founder of Umana, a global nonprofit that is already breaking the cycle of emotional abuse through advocacy and education. This project comes from a very personal experience. When I grew up in Madagascar, the only forms of abuse that I knew of were physical and sexual abuse, but it wasn't until I came to the US 5 years ago and that I worked as a sexual assault peer educator that I learned about emotional abuse. And that's when I realized that I grew up in an emotionally abusive household, but I didn't know it. And through my research, I found out that I was not the only one. According to UNICEF, 80% of children experience the same thing. So I decided to talk about it for the first time, talking about emotional abuse being normalized in my country and being an epidemic. I was expecting a lot of backlashes, but instead the video went viral, not only in my country, but all around the world. Hundreds of people from 13 different countries, including the US, reached out to me, and they shared their stories of abuse because they could relate to the problem I was talking about. Why is this important? Well, everybody has experienced emotional abuse in a way or another, directly or indirectly, and this can happen in any type of relationship. Yet we don't talk about the consequences that emotional abuse has. Emotional abuse erodes people's sense of identity, dignity, self-esteem, and can dramatically affect people's mental health. It touches upon public human rights and also can affect a country economically. So it is also passed down from generation to generation. So I thought of breaking the cycle and addressing the problem by targeting students aged 6 to 12 and teach them about what I believe is the opposite of emotional abuse. So I compiled and designed a pilot program that is inspired by our partners' resources that have already proven successful. So the content are ranging from books, teaching students how to set boundaries, videos that are touching on topics on healthy and toxic relationships, as well as workshops that will teach them about social and emotional intelligence. So teaching them how to identify, define, and express their emotions with empathy. With my team, we worked on translating and making the content appropriate to the people in my country. And last December, we ran the first ever pilot program of its kind into 6 schools of the capital of Madagascar. We engaged with more than 350 students, and prior to the workshops, 95% of them told us that they didn't know about emotional abuse. After the workshops, we provided them with tools so that they can spot the red flags ahead of time when it comes to unhealthy behaviors and relationships. Those are some of their testimonials. Since then, we received hundreds of applications from people who want to develop solutions to the problem, and we are currently leading a global campaign of awareness around emotional abuse. And our next steps are to co-create educational programs with the community, designing an innovation competition that will mobilize this army of volunteers into teams. Each team will work on part of the problem that they think is important, and they will work on developing a pilot program. We will select and test the pilot, and we want to make sure that the results are repeatable and that the impact is significant. In 2 years, we expect to experiment with 15 to 20 different approaches and identify 2 to 3 of the most promising projects, and we will implement them. Ultimately, our goal is to scale Umana's advocacy and educational work. And we started in Madagascar because that's where I'm from and that's what I know. But if it works in Madagascar, there is no reason it wouldn't work in other countries. And it's time to talk about emotional abuse because by not addressing it, we are allowing the cycle to continue. And I want to end by saying that we ran this first pilot program with less than $2,000. And I can't even imagine how many more lives we can change with the support of the Brown Venture Prize. Thank you.
Great job. So our judges loved the work that you had done thus far. 2 kind of related things that they asked about. You're a one-woman show for now, so how do you scale? And you clearly have that as a vision, but sort of the how are you thinking about that? Yes. And the second, financial resources that you might need, is it going to be sort of donor driven? What's kind of the revenue model to support not just you, but whatever scale you have in mind?
Yes. So right now, I'm working with a lot of different volunteers, but we have team leaders who are actually from other countries, and we are diaspora who are working on it right now. And I'm not by myself now, but I used to be. And that's for the first question. And the second one is that we are thinking about training peer educators for this first pilot and to partner with schools. For public schools, it will be free, but we are thinking about making the private schools pay for small fees.
Hi, nice job. You know, it's obviously a pretty big mountain to climb, and I think you're doing a wonderful job. And I wonder, you know, in a weird kind of way, there's a judgmentalness to what you're doing, and you're judging, in a way, the behavior of the parents in your community, because they're the ones, maybe the siblings, but probably mostly the parents. Do I have that right?
Yes. At the beginning, it was the case, but then we realized that actually, if we wanted to raise awareness around this subject, we wanted to have everybody involved in solving the problem. That's why we started to work with the community and having the discussion around actually them not knowing that what they were doing were really detrimental, and coming from that place of empathy that we understand that they want to do the best for us, but it's just the way they did it. So we want to stop that with us, the next generation.
Objecting. I mean, in the United States, there was a controversy, it actually continues today, about sex education in schools, that some parents just don't think that's the purview of the schools to be messing with that area. And I wonder if you face similar challenges to get parents to even approve of content like this showing up in the schools.
So the approach that we used was when we came to Madagascar, we first talked about, let's live healthier relationships. We didn't talk about emotional abuse, not at all, but we did come from a positive approach, and also we talked about the consequences, and now that they know that those are the impacts on their children, then they're trying, not that they're trying, but they are more understanding of what we're doing, and also that this is not just between parents and children, it's also in friendships, in romantic ones, at work. So it's really a great,
So it sounds like you're attendant to the you know, the possible hurt that somebody might feel like you're accusing them of emotional abuse, but you're going about it in a very creative way. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Asha.
And I'm Srishti.
And our venture is Peel, a marketplace for moments. This is a picture of my calendar. It's busy, it's packed, it's filled with lots of different work obligations. But the most exciting times on this calendar are when I have free time, these blocks that happen throughout the day where there's nothing on it, and I have to try to plan something and I want to do something fun. Free time is precious, let's not waste it. One of the hardest things about trying to plan your free time is that you have to coordinate with a bunch of friends, you have to scroll through Facebook events where someone hit interested 3 weeks ago, and you're not really sure if you want to go or if they're going. And doing all that planning is a waste of those small blocks of free time throughout your week, especially towards the end. With Peel, we don't want you to waste it. Peel gets you where you want to be, even if you don't know where that is yet. Unlike your calendars, which focus on months and weeks in advance, where you're trying to plan a to-do list of things to do, Peel is about today, tonight, trying to figure out something fun.
So Asha here is interested in electronic music and donuts. Those are some of her real interests. So she had some free blocks on her calendar on Thursday night and Friday morning. So instead of her going out and searching for events that might fit these interests, we actually invite you to these events that fit your interests. So we would invite Asha to an electronic music concert on Thursday night and to a PB Donuts anniversary brunch on Friday morning. Peel is a platform that connects people and experiences. So say, for example, I happen to have an extra ticket to an electronic music concert. Maybe a friend bails on me last minute. It happens to all of us. So instead of this ticket going to waste and wasting the money on that, I could actually sell that ticket on Peel, and it would be connected with an interested buyer like Asha. So this is a prototype of the app I'm working on. First, you log in, and once you're logged in, you can pick the different categories you're interested in. So for Asha, it was electronic music and donuts, but you could pick coffee shops, you could pick dance classes, cooking classes, or anything else. Then you get a personalized dashboard with events tailored to your interests. You can click on an event to see more about it,
and then with one tap, you can join the event and be right in it. We also will send you notifications based on if events become free within your interests. So our business model has two main sources of revenue: event commerce and promotions. So for event commerce, like for example, if I was selling an escape room ticket or the electronic music ticket, Peel would take a small cut of each transaction. We would also work through promotions, so working with local venues like the House of Blues to promote their events.
When we're looking at competition, you might think of a company like Eventbrite, Ticketmaster, StubHub. But one area where they all fail is event discovery. The last time I used Ticketmaster was to buy a Taylor Swift ticket 6 months in advance. It wasn't to go try to find something to do tonight. Peel gets you where you want to be tonight. And in terms of other social networking companies, Peel is a co-opetition, meaning what we do is we work with them. If we take you to a great event with your friends, that's something exciting to post on your Snapchat story or post on Instagram. And if we integrate with Spotify, which we plan to do, that way you can help, we'll coordinate your music tastes and what your interests in concerts are with the actual events. I'm Asha, I'm the CEO of Peel, and I worked in product at Wayfair, at Quicken Loans, and at several startups, including ones in music and education tech.
I'm Srishti, I'm the CTO, and I've done software engineering at a number of companies, including Bose and a 3D printing company called Desktop Metal.
The rest of the people on this slide are our advisors, and they range from a YC partner to different founders and professors, and they've been great at helping us conduct user-focused research. In terms of milestones, Srishti and I are both seniors who are committed to working on Peel after we graduate in May. And in April, we're going to launch a closed beta that we've been working on and signing up users to. Over the summer, we'll launch an open beta, and we'll go to a public launch on college campuses once we're all back in August. And then by 2021, we're going to scale past this demographic and go beyond.
So Peel is real. Peel is a social network based in reality. We want to help people find events, make new friends, and most importantly, have fun.
You meet real people, we save you real time.
Awesome, thank you. So questions from judges were primarily around revenue model. You talked about a couple of kind of initial thoughts about how you would make money. Can you kind of unpack that for us a little bit more?
Sure. So I think in terms of revenue, when you're looking at an app, the most exciting thing to me for investors is if you have people using your app every day and spending time on it. And we plan to grow a large user base of people using an app daily, which is a pretty novel thing. And then beyond that, our other plans for revenue that hadn't been listed in our application are about transactions with tickets and event promotions. And we definitely plan on working with local businesses and then expanding.
Yeah, and additionally with that, for example, Ticketmaster might have unsold tickets of concerts and stuff like that, but we also want to work with, fitness centers if they want their dance class to be more populated. So if we have a larger user base, they'd come to us to promote their events.
Cool. I wonder, have you thought about institutions that run lots and lots of events? And I'm thinking about universities, and I'm thinking about that Grievous Today at Brown that we get every morning, where there's just so. And so I wonder whether you've thought about that, where as opposed to, because it seems like going sort of door to door, venue to venue, might be a tough slog.
Yeah, we're definitely interested in scraping lists like that or working with other centers that throw a lot of events. That's especially one helpful way, and especially with the morning mail, it's so long that some people don't go to the end of it. I'm one of the only people that does from all of my friends, and so by giving the specific event interests, we're hoping that it'll actually bring more people to those events, and they're not trying to dig through a lot of things like they do on Facebook events or these long notifications and bulletin boards.
Yeah, it's the events coming to you instead of having to actively seek them out.
Find a purchaser in Brown as a way to, because I think honestly it's hard to get people to events. Everyone's really busy, and they're so busy they won't even scroll down. But if it were sort of like popping up on calendars, sort of automatically, it might be really cool.
Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I'm Abby Kohler, and my venture, ResusciTech,
will help you save lives during medical emergencies, particularly if you need to administer CPR. If you have a cardiac arrest, the quality of the CPR you receive is the single most important factor in your chances of survival. Advanced American hospitals know this, and if you have a cardiac arrest, it'll look like this. Within seconds, there will be doctors and nurses at your side performing CPR with the help of CPR feedback machines. You might think doctors and nurses would know how to perform CPR without these, but they rely on this feedback on their compression, depth, and rate in order to perform the highest possible quality care. So this is your best chance of survival. More than 60% of people who end up in this situation will survive it. But unfortunately, this is pretty rare. Most cases, in fact, 80% of them, look like this. They'll happen at work, at school, at home, or anywhere else you might go. And in the best case, there's maybe someone near you who's had a CPR training class. But often they lack the confidence to perform CPR at all, and if they do, they'll almost certainly do it wrong, because they're trying to reach a chest compression depth of 2 to 2.4 inches over 100 times a minute, and that's an incredibly precise window to try to achieve that often. So if you end up in this scenario, you'll almost certainly die. 90% of people who have out-of-hospital cardiac arrests end up dying from them. So we asked, how can we take the technology that works so well in hospital and use it out of hospital, where cardiac arrests are both far more frequent and far more deadly? And our answer is the CPR Now feedback app. With this, you'll have the confidence and capability to do CPR in your pocket at all times. It'll walk you through basic steps like checking for breathing, calling 911, placing your hands properly, and then it'll give you feedback like this. Just place your hands, hold the phone, and maintain the proper depth and rate indicated by the green areas, and you're ready to go. I'm just performing chest compressions and keeping the needle in the green area and keeping the depth bar in the green area so that you can maintain the best possible compressions. So far, we have participated in B-Lab, Brown University's Summer Accelerator. We've conducted over 60 customer interviews with doctors, nurses, and EMTs in order to confirm this problem and inform our solution. And we've also gotten some exciting interest from them. We've filed 3 provisional patents on our technology. We've developed a working prototype in Android Studio, and we were recently awarded the NEMIC Activate grant as well as the NIH-driven grant, bringing our total non-dilutive grant funding to over $100,000. Within the next year, we will complete software verification and software validation in order to ensure that the app works as intended and that people can use it properly. And the money from the Brown Venture Prize would help us achieve major milestones in the software verification step. We will then draft our 510K using this data, which is the FDA clearance application. We'll then file it for launch in January of 2022. As we go to market, we'll initially look for first responders. These are policemen, firemen, EMTs, and who need CPR feedback because they encounter cardiac arrests more frequently than the rest of us. And they don't have access to the technology I mentioned earlier because they're priced out and because they can't have something that big on them at all times. We'll then look towards care organizations that also don't have the budgets to get this expensive feedback equipment. Then towards cardiac risk workplaces. These are places like athletic centers, airlines, and electric companies and construction companies where cardiac arrests occur more frequently. And then towards the family of cardiology patients who need versatile tools that they can have on them at all times in case their loved one has a cardiac arrest. At just $10 per user per year, we have an addressable market over $1 billion. Although this will increase when we launch the pro version of the app, which will include exciting features like data review for hospitals to know if people are performing CPR correctly and if people need to be retrained. The team that's been working on this is myself and Greg Fine. I'm the CEO, I'm a senior in biomedical engineering. Greg is the CTO, he's a senior in electrical engineering. And we'll both be working on this full-time after we graduate in May. We also have a team of advisors, including people at the New England Medical Innovation Center, at the Rhode Island Hospital Emergency Department, Department in Pediatrics and in Adult, and also at our very own Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. And we're very excited to bring to market a technology that will give you the confidence and capability to do CPR anywhere. And with your help, we can increase the number of people who survive cardiac arrest annually by 3 times. Thank you.
All right. No matter about the video, because I want you to describe. So our judges wanted to know basically a bit more about the product and how it works.
Sure.
So it's a good time to do that. So walk us through what that looks like and what it does to help do quality CPR.
Sure. So phones contain the same technology that allows the in-hospital equipment to work. This is just an accelerometer, essentially, which for people in the room who aren't engineers, measures the amount of acceleration, which you can then double integrate in order to find the distance. There's a lot more complexity than that, involving a lot of like filtering processes and other signal processing stuff that enable this to work. But essentially, we can find the distance and then perform statistical operations to identify where the peaks are and identify how much distance is between each peak. So therefore, we get the rate because we know how many peaks, and we get the distance or the depth.
And just in terms of usability, so you just hold the phone on your hand as you're, so you have the app on your phone, and then you pull it out if something happens and hold on to it as you administer CPR, is that right?
Yep, that's precisely it. I was checking to see if I have my phone on me to demonstrate, but you basically hold it between your pointer and middle finger on the upper edge and your thumb on the lower edge, and then put your hands in CPR position as I was doing in the video, and you're off to the races, you're ready to go.
So as a entry market sort of thing, it's everybody pays the $10 per year for the pleasure of having the app on their phone. Do I have that right?
Essentially, there's a little more complexity than that because we're thinking, and we've got some good indications that companies would be willing, like an EMT company, for example, or an entire police or fire department, may want to purchase it for everyone.
So they give a download code to their employees or something as an encouragement to do it. Okay.
And then also, there's potential that for the cardiac risk workplaces, that it would decrease their liability, and potentially we still need to validate this, but their liability insurance, so it would save them money that way.
Gotcha.
Maybe. And then for the family members of cardiology patients, they would likely pay out of pocket, but we hope in the future to look towards the possibility of it being prescribed by cardiologists or the possibility of it being included in insurance benefits.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.